some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Hi there, folks. I'm Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. As you may have noticed, there was no stupid o'clock tonight. That's because tonight is the Hallowcon Christmas party in Dalton, Georgia. So that means Joe Dog and Chris and quite possibly John are there, probably winding down the Christmas party right about now, in which case they've all three got clean up and break down and whatever to do. But with me tonight, I've got Joe Bachman and I've got Aunt Donna, and we're just going to try and ramble on as best we can. So, how are y'all?
Ramble.
Hmm.
Oh, doing pretty well this evening. Just trying to get my vision to refocus. I've stared at my phone screen for far too long today.
Ooh, don't do that.
So, the computer monitors aren't nearly as blurry as they were when I first got down here, but yeah, otherwise doing good. Printing off a little keychain that should hopefully finish up just before the show ends, according to the amount of time that it says has left.
There we go.
And yes, get well soon, Thesis.
Yep, he popped in to drop a like, and I hope went back to bed or is at least sitting comfortably somewhere. Working on it, antibiotics, fluid, and rest. Yes, indeed.
Good.
Good man.
Oh, that reminds me. I got some cold medicine tablets to try and cope with my morning sniffles and whatnot. So I've got to get those out of the kitchen sometime. Probably when I get my first cup of coffee in the morning.
And according to USPS, Donna, your package should arrive on Monday, but I would take a venture to guess it's actually going to be like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because, the last time I ordered something from Valparaiso, it went from Valpo to Illinois, to another place in Illinois, to a third place in Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
to the Gary Distribution Center, back to Illinois, to another place in Illinois, back to the Gary Distribution Center, down to Hobart, back to Illinois.
I can believe it. Yeah. I was telling Dan that Carl ordered some cigars. They originate out in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday they were in Indy. Today he checked it. They were in Rochelle, New York, which is opposite side of Indy as you could get from Danville.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And we're
And
just
USPS wonders why they hemorrhage money sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad that they're not delivering my truck or the installers for the stove.
back in Indy, he says. Well, the funny thing is that we're only like 90 minutes from Indianapolis on 74. We're right on 74.
Well,
Not us
Joe Dog,
personally, but Danville.
Joe Dog had ordered something one time, and come to find out it was in a shipping facility very, very close to his house. And next thing he knows, it's in Arkansas or something equally ridiculous, and having to come back towards Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 3, maybe 4 days late, even though all they had to do was drive up the hill and throw it out in his driveway, assuming it was not destructible.
Mm-hmm. Well, funny thing is, the thing I ordered was a new hot sauce that Melitas came out with. And by the time it got to me, the bottle was broken.
Oh.
So I contacted them and, sent them pictures of everything. They're like, yeah, that happens every once in a while. They're like, we'll send you a new one, no problem. So they sent out a new one and put several fragile stickers on it. Apparently, USPS took that as a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because this box arrived in far worse shape than the first one. The first one didn't even look like it had been crushed at all, and the bottle had broken. This one, the box was just mangled. We're like, okay, give me another broken bottle. They sent me 2 bottles, and both survived somehow.
Oh, good. No, when we were unloading groceries from the trunk of the car today after grocery shopping, turns out I didn't have any sort of a grip at all on the only bag that contained a glass jar of strawberry jelly.
Ooh.
Straight onto the concrete driveway, chipped one teeny tiny spot on the jelly jar, about the size of a period at 12-point font in Times New Roman. Did not shatter whatsoever.
And everybody who was a writer just went, okay, yeah, I can envision that.
You know exactly how big that is. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to use the scales that you.
That you know.
Yeah, really. Or I could have said it's like 0.5 millimeter, and only Zach would understand.
Canadian or American millimeter? Oh. Love you, Zach. If you're watching this, we hope you're doing better, bud.
Oh, Joe, you know for a fact there are no American millimeters.
Carl wants to know, is that Canadian Times New Roman?
Oh, well.
There's a...
Depends on what operating system he uses in his computer.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I know, font sizes are supposed to be cross-platform.
Yeah, it's supposed
Yes,
to be.
Supposed to be, yeah. Um,
that reminds me.
Carl! That Canadian Times New Roman. Oh, dear. Uh,
Well, if it does get here Monday or Tuesday, that would be great because we're having lunch on Wednesday, and it's going to be the last time I get to see her this year because they go on vacation day after Christmas
mm,
for about a week and a half, I think. We go down and Carl takes care of the chickens, and I go in and take care of their cat, who tells me the most awful stories about how terribly she's abused. Poor thing.
yes.
You know those reindeer antler things you put on your head,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
they have them for dogs. They bought her a pair only instead of just antlers. They had Santa Clauses on them. She did not look happy. She lets them do it, but she's like,
This is being shredded quickly. Taking care of the chickens and cat, we will not be dressing the kitty. Well, don't be dressing the chickens either. They'll want to go to town. That will not end well.
oh, they had to separate the chickens. They have
No, no, you separate eggs. Uh,
no. You separate chickens. What the I think these are French chickens, and the Polish chickens weren't happy with them and picking on them. So they
probably
had
still remembered World War II.
so they had to make a separate little structure to keep those in. And they're like, do not let them out in the yard. They've clipped their wings as much as they can without hurting them, and they can still fly.
Mm. Oh, I have some online friends. I've never met them. They have a YouTube channel, but they used to live on a canal boat. Now they have a small holding in Scotland. And for a couple of years now, they've had lots and lots of chickens in a nice uh, chicken coop on their holding. And last week, a variety of weasel came out of the woods and killed every single one of their 20 chickens.
Mm.
And they are just absolutely devastated. They said, no, we're not going to replace them till spring. There's no point doing anything now except already ordered 2 tons of sand to put in the chicken coop and the surrounding inside their fence and just get it ready. And then they will reorder 20 more chickens or probably more. I don't know. But these guys, the pain on their face was just palpable. I mean,
Mm.
seriously. Um,
Yeah. And there's a little Polish chicken hen in there. She's supposed to be lavender, but she looks white to me. And my boys named her Donna. Yeah.
yeah, but you don't look the least bit lavender. Oh, I remembered what variety of weasel it was. It was a pine marten, which sounds like a species of bird, but no, it's a weasel. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. They get in there and they
they
don't
just
like
go,
they
they
don't
just
just
go nuts.
kill one and take eat
They
that.
don't
They
just
just
kill one and eat it. They kill anything that moves. They're like sharks. which the guys did make the point is they went in there, and as soon as they drew blood on one chicken, it was uh, basically the ending of Avengers Endgame. It was let's just kill anything that moves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I hate to see it. I hate for them to have this setback, but um, you can't do anything. You really can't. They're out in the middle of the Scottish Highlands. It's not like they're in a city or anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be wild animal predators of all sorts wandering around. Um,
Yeah, that's why we never let the chickens out when we go down there because then
mm,
they have to be put back in overnight. And they live basically in the country. I mean, you see their driveway, and you don't think that's a driveway. You think that's just a path somewhere.
oh, I know
And
that kind of driveway from down
hmm
here. Yeah, it looks like
and
somebody
yeah,
drove a log truck on it back in the 30s, and nobody's ever used it
since
since.
then, right, and not gonna take the chance that something gets over the fence or while we're gone during the day, we just go down and check the water, check the feed. Nope, stay in the pen.
Yep, that's why the first version of the cat pen outdoors not only had the shed and the little pieces of plywood I had nailed up all the way around it for them to have little runs up and down and everywhere, and had chicken wire all the way around, but I roofed it in with chicken wire too to keep the predatory birds from coming down and getting the cats. So, and chicken wire doesn't last that many years, maybe five
Mm-hmm.
at most, before you got to replace it. Well, by that time, we already had the chain link fence up and they were grown cats. And we
Mm-hmm.
figure any bird that comes down after them is fair prey for them because they will leap up into midair and eat a bird on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what size it is. You go out there, some days there's feathers all over the chain link fence. They caught something. But the only thing they haven't been able to catch is hummingbirds. So, you know, oh, let's get the camera over here so I'm centered up a little better. Uh, mm, Not being finicky, just it annoys me to have half of my face hidden by the edge of the screen. Let's see what else. Installers for the stove are supposed to be here Tuesday. I have to call the place we ordered the stove from. It's already been delivered. It's sitting on the
Mm-hmm.
front porch. I have to call the place excuse me, we ordered the stove from and find out what company is going to be calling us to schedule them showing up to do the work. We've got all the stuff out of the way in the kitchen where they pull the old stove out, undo the wiring from the house electrical supply. Yes, I will turn off the breaker first. I'm not stupid. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm not careless. Uh, because I've done that the last two stoves that's been installed in this house. I've done the pulling the old one out and putting a new one in, all the wiring and everything. I know what's involved. Um,
My pop never shut off the electricity when he was doing anything. After he had his open heart surgery, they gotta crack your ribs open. Well, they use little metal rings to put it back together because you can't sew bone.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
He was work. I think it was on the telephone. Was working on this, and all of a sudden he just kind of goes, oh, and Mom and I are like, what? And he says, those little rings jump inside you when you get shocked.
All of a sudden, our ribs are welded back together.
Crap.
Yeah, well, this entire adventure would have been unnecessary if at any time when I had one of the old stoves pulled out, I had just switched the wire from the back of the stove to a normal um, 240 plug-in, just like a welder, um, and all the delivery guys would have been able to just go, hey, unplug, remove the
Or
old one, slide the new one in, plug it back up when it's close enough. But I've never bothered to do that because I did not realize that they would stop making that style of kitchen stove again.
of
Oh,
course they do. They always quit making the style you like.
well, they did the last. Well, I don't know how many years I've lived in this house now. It's been uh, almost 20 with Lindsay, and quite a
Well,
while before. So,
we don't have to worry about that. I hope I don't have to replace that stove before I'm ready to leave this house. But
mm,
when we moved in, it was a gas stove,
oh,
and I I had never cooked on a gas stove, not since I was about 10 years old.
Mhm.
But I'm like, okay, sure, I can do this. We don't need to change this. Uh, yeah, it got to where you turn it on and it wouldn't turn on. The flames wouldn't poof. And there were a couple of incidences, and sweet Uncle Carl said, yeah, that stove's a little old. You want me to get you a ceramic top like you had? And I'm like, yes, please.
mm,
Mhm.
So yeah, they took that out and capped off the gas or whatever they have to do and fixed it up for electric.
yeah. Uh, the installers, the delivery people were very apologetic when they said, they didn't send out the technicians to do the wiring with us. We'll have to call them because we're an outside contractor. We don't work for the store.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a delivery company. But part of the contract with the store was paying to have the wiring done and hauling off the old stove so that I don't have to take it to the dump and kick it out of the back of hopefully my pickup truck by that time. Um, it's just frustrating when other people don't pay attention to what they advertise on their website. I
Yeah.
mean, really, really frustrating. Um, I've been having butterflies in my stomach worrying about what could go wrong with everything that we have bought in the last month. And hey, can't do this because we need an extra crew. Um, I just bought another electric fireplace because they don't make the little heater insert to replace the only part that needs replacing. Um,
Well, too, I understand that's to force you to get a new one, but then again, they've probably done their demographics. And by the time you have to replace one, most, and I hate to say this, women are going to want a new one. Probably a different looking one.
well, actually, Lindsay went out of her way to try and find one that was almost exactly the same.
That's because Lindsay and I are a lot alike. We don't like to change stuff like that very often. But
Yeah.
you get something like that, you really like it, you don't want to change the looks of it.
Plus, it's never been scratched or dinged or dented. It's still a wonderful piece of furniture, except
It doesn't work.
the heating element has finally died.
Mm.
It still has part of the nice light display, but that's only psychological. It's not going to heat up the living room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, when she finally agreed that my method of getting the surplus industrial size thick plastic bags from work and putting them ceiling to damn near floor over the windows to stop any drafts was
Mm-hmm.
a good idea. Uh, she
Oh,
when she got here, she didn't want the windows obscured, so she could see when somebody pulled out in the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
She's gradually gotten more and more comfortable here. She doesn't care if anybody pulls up in the driveway unless it's a delivery driver.
mm.
So,
I'll be right back, folks. I would say I have to go down the hall, but it's more across the basement, up the stairs, through a couple rooms, and down the hall. So,
I hope everything comes out all right.
over the mountain and across the fields and to grandma's house we go. Uh, yeah, I'm just hoping that everything runs smoothly with all the rest of this stuff. It really was a weight off my mind to find that the pickup truck had finally been loaded on a delivery vehicle and it's headed towards the store in the next county. And they're gonna give it a full inspection and a deep clean. Uh, Found out from the agent that I talked to when I bought the truck that company policy is whenever one of those vehicles goes to a different shop, that shop has to do the complete inspection all over again. Doesn't matter if it was just done 3 days before,
Mm,
50 miles away.
things might have happened in transit.
Exactly. Exactly. And it'll take till January for me to get the new license plate in the mail because the county is exactly that slow about sending out new license plates.
Well, it's the holidays. You sure it's going to be even that soon?
Um, I quite possibly could just take the paperwork to the county courthouse on a day that it's actually open and go, hey, I need this now because I don't want to get pulled over, even though it's going to have dealer tags on it.
Illinois just passed a law that we can now have our driver's license on the phone. I look for car registration, etc., to follow very soon.
Mm, which means I got to figure out how to do that. I'm still going to the insurance website and printing out my insurance cards because insurance company no longer mails them out.
Mm, we still get ours by mail, but I'm very surprised at that.
Well, there's an option on the website where they can mail it to you, but you click that and you go, yes. And months later, it still hasn't arrived.
They say, haha, just kidding.
Pretty much.
Yep, yep.
So I've just started printing them out, and I go, hey, this is taking up a whole lot more room in the glove box than the other ones, and it's really hard to fold them up to small enough to fit in my wallet.
Yeah.
It's hard to fold up a sheet of printing paper where it's half the size of a dollar bill. Oh.
And then there were a couple of ones I do not agree with. I think if you're a criminal, your DNA needs to go in the database because
Hmm.
most criminals are repeats, and that's going to make it easier to find you. And minimum wage will now go up to $15 an hour, and starting in January, except for tipped people,
Yes.
waitresses, etc. They are only guaranteed 60%, and that is not right. Those
No, it's
tips are
not.
that's gratuities. That is not your frickin' salary.
There is no reason that they are not getting minimum wage plus tips.
Mm-hmm.
That no, that's just because the companies that they work for, corporate lobbies Congress to make sure that they don't have to pay a living wage to any of their employees.
That also means that that waitress that worked her butt off and you left her, let's just say, a $10 tip, is going to get the same $15 an hour as that waitress who wasn't so good, maybe got a $1 tip, but their salary is going to be evened out.
Yeah,
And that's not right.
no, it's not. It's not. Um, I've never seen the fairness in that. I've also never seen the fairness of people who get hired by grocery stores to do the stocking and run cash registers and things like that, being denied a 40-hour week because that would make them full time
Mm-hmm. And get
instead of
benefits.
part time and get benefits. Yes. So
Walmart does that.
my second wife came home so many times and said, "Well, not going to get a 40-hour check this week. I'm going to have to work 39 hours just so that they don't have to make me fill out the paperwork for me to be full time or give me any benefits."
Mm-hmm.
That totally sucks, in my opinion, but that's
Yep.
the way stores make money, or some. There are the exceptions that go ahead and pay a living wage to start with.
Yep. Well, having made my way through college waiting tables, I maybe this is a little more close to me, too close to me, but
Mm,
uh, the first time it happened to me was Pizza Hut. I had to tell them all my tips, and then they worked out how much I made per hour to even make it minimum wage. And back then, that was only what, $4 or $5 an hour,
yeah, probably about
and
430 or thereabouts.
something like that. And no, about at least half of my tips went in my bra instead of my pocket.
Hmm. That's the only way to get ahead.
And I
Sometimes,
wasn't, and I was just working my way through college. I wasn't trying to. I mean, it wasn't a full time job to try and keep body and soul together like it is for a lot of these waitresses these days and other service
yeah,
people.
some of them are single parents raising kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not need to be working minimum wage, but that might be the only jobs they can get.
Well, that's true, Carl. That way you get taxed on it too. Those are gifts, and gifts should not be taxed.
This is true.
They do not. Well, in fact, they don't even allow tips in Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
They make sure that their people get paid a working wage.
It's kind of like in New Jersey where it's illegal to pump your own gas. The rest of the company, you don't. The rest of the company, the rest of the country, you don't have a choice. Nobody's
Tell me
going to
about
pump
it.
it for you.
Tell me about it. I can't pump my own gas because I'm allergic to petroleum products.
Mm,
I was very lucky that before we became totally self-serve, that I met and married Carl, and he pumps all my gas for me. If not him, if he'd forgotten, I have some very good friends who go, I'll go, oh shoot, I need gas, and they go, that's okay, we'll pump it, because they don't want to see me getting sick.
Yeah. So
And
many, so many
technically,
inequalities.
technically, you're supposed to be able to pull into a gas station, call in, and say, I'm disabled, can you come pump my gas? But if you don't have one of those stickers in your car, and they come out and they say, you don't have a disabled sticker, get your lazy ass out of there and pump. It's not laziness, folks. Not all disabilities are visible.
Hmm. Yep, my mom's got a disabled tag that
Mm-hmm.
she hangs on her rearview mirror when she parks. She can't stand it dangling while she's driving, but
Well, technically, well, in Illinois anyway, that's obstruction, so you can't have it on your thing while you're driving. You can only put it up after you park. Yeah, my mom had one, and I used to carry it in my van after she quit driving, and that was nice. I take her to the doctor, park in the parking lot, go to drive out, and they'd see that disabled tag, and they go, "Go on, you don't know anything." All right,
hmm.
especially when they charge like $2 an hour.
Yep. Um, oh, I when we went to a restaurant in the next county for our Thanksgiving dinner, it, well, I wouldn't say my whole family, but a sizable fraction of it. Um, I knew that the ibuprofen that I'd taken before I left the house was going to wear off, so I took a couple of them with me in a pill bottle, pulled into a gas station right off of the driveway for the restaurant, and went in and got a bottle of water. And the clerk says, "Oh, big spender, huh?" And I go, "Well, that's kind of all I need. I just got to take my meds so I could get home." And he goes, "No, that's free. I'll pay for it."
That's nice of him.
It sure was. I mean, he saw the beard, and he was
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit younger than me, but I think he just felt guilty about being smart aleck when I walked up with a bottle of water, and that was it. It
Speaking of
it
bottled water,
worked.
um, April and I tried out well, it's not a new restaurant. I'd been there a couple times before the plague, and it persevered through. So last Wednesday we went there. It's called the Shark Grill, and its specialty is fish, although it has some delicious looking sandwiches and stuff.
Mm,
And I'm looking at the drinks, and I had gone in first and got a table, and I'm looking at the drinks, and it's Pepsi products, and I don't feel like a Mountain Dew with fish. Hi, Rich.
hello,
Howdy, howdy.
Richie.
So I ordered water with lemon, and they come out, and it's a bottle of water, and I'm like, okay, that's why it's costing $1 on the menu. So April comes in, she sits down, and waitress comes to see what she wants, and before the waitress gets there, April looks at it, says it's bottled water, and I look at her and go, on this side of Danville, yes. If you want water, it's going to be bottled.
Probably safer.
Mm-hmm.
I
I,
remember a Robin Williams joke where he says, "Yes, when I blow $1 on a bottle of water, I have Perrier." Yeah, you blow a dollar on a bottle of water now, you get the cheap stuff from somebody's faucet. Uh,
How's it doing, Rich?
I can't complain. I'm on the right side of the green.
And there's not a lot of green out there.
There's still a fair amount. Some of it's brown, but some of it's still green.
My neighbor's pine trees are turning brown.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
There's at least 2 of them that I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure one of them's dead and called, but there's still needles way up at the top. These are real tall pine
Real
trees.
tall
So, like,
pine
I don't
trees.
care what the top looks like. Look at that trunk. And if these suckers ever fall, fortunately, it's far enough over to only take out the garage and not the house.
But
But
that's
it'll,
still going to be expensive.
yeah, hey, both of them are lawyers. They're going to be able to afford it.
Well, around here to have a tree removed, doesn't matter what size it is, minimum $1,000 per tree.
Yeah. We had to take a tree out that was threatening our wires. And Carl's like, well, while you're at it, take out that little tree in front of the garage too, because it's dead and it's no good. Almost $2,000, and and I'm like, yeah, I bet you wish you'd taken that other guy's offer about 4 years ago when he offered to take that one tree out for $300, and you thought that was too much.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe.
I've got all kinds of trees around the yard that I desperately do not want to fall on the house, or I desperately do not want to have. We have this variety called sweet gum, which is basically the kudzu of trees. If you don't kill out everything of that species within 20 miles of your house, you're going to have them growing in your yard within 6 months. And I can't afford to pay for everybody in the forest to have their trees removed. But I sure would like to get rid of the ones that's in my property.
Yeah. I'm just glad it wasn't that much when we had to get rid of that dang magnolia tree. Who puts a magnolia tree within 3 foot of your foundation and over your sewer line?
Yeah, because magnolia trees are famous for being like weeping willow. Their roots grow towards any hint of water.
Moisture.
Yeah.
And they will bust through even ceramic pipes, much less PVC, and clog everything up.
And they shed twice a year.
Yeah.
And those suckers are slick. Especially the blooms. The leaves are bad enough, but the blooms are really slick. And they get on that blacktop driveway, and it's almost like driving on ice.
Yeah.
And we got tired of, I think we did it like 5 years in a row. Every year had to have somebody come out and remount the pipes. And finally said, no, we're taking out the tree. Now the sunroom really is a sunroom. There's light in there. I didn't realize how dark that tree was making that room until we took it down.
As much as I like weeping willow trees, unless I buy enough land behind my house to get all the way to the creek, I'm not planting any. Those things be next to wild water, not the domesticated kind I have around here.
I had one when we lived up at Rossville, but we put it way out back of the yard. 'Cause we had like 4 acres. And it was just far enough where I could see it from the house and admire it. And it got to be a pretty little thing. Survived even my brother running over it with a lawnmower when it was just a twig. I hadn't moved out 6 months and it died.
It
And
missed you.
that's what Mom said. Mom said that was your tree, and when you weren't here anymore, it just gave it up.
There's some branches overhanging my yard and one of my neighbor's pine trees. I'm glad I bought a pole saw. That way I can cut them down before they fall and caused me to have to rebuild the chain link fence.
Yeah.
Richie, you're getting some audio bleed through.
Yeah.
Those things are useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my middle child and their significant other are over, so they're in Misty's office talking to Misty, and their voice carries.
Yeah, Carl. Yeah, but you can't help that. You've got such an extensive system of wiring in your office that it picks up radio signals whether you want it to or not.
It's that new 100-foot antenna he's got outside his window now.
Mm.
I think he was expecting me to say something. He said, "See that wire?" And I said, "Yeah, that's your little antenna, and it for your shortwave, right?" He's like, "Well, it's not so little anymore. It's gone from 50 foot to 100 foot." And I'm like, "Okay." Doesn't affect my life, except in the green room when something talks over his computer.
It's not my antenna. That's a totally different computer. Believe me, Carl, when I had the recording studio set up in my living room of a small apartment, I could get AM radio through any speaker that was plugged in, even if it was not plugged into a stereo of any kind. It was just going into an amp that was turned off. I mean, I remember one time when I got a Georgia football game through the speaker cabinet I had built for my base. Had no power running to it whatsoever. It was just going through the wires. And the speaker was strong enough signal to where the speakers were just going, "Hey, you ever heard of crystal radio? Here we go. We're going to give you a lesson."
Here in Indiana, we've heard of crystal meth.
Oh, yeah, there's that. I can't believe the price of network storage hasn't come down.
And it's because they're still making money off of it.
Because data is getting more and more precious, so.
Oh, there's
and your access to it.
There's a question for Richard Joe.
Yeah, it could be bleed through.
Yeah, it could be.
If the one of the wires isn't shielded enough.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's using just a straight copper line, isn't he, instead of coax?
It's black. That's all I know.
Well, even shielded coax, I mean, for something like that, I mean, unless you go super expensive on the coax, it's not like the
Super. We are talking about the Witzman dude.
I wasn't going to say anything, Donna.
Which I am not complaining about because being part Scottish, I'm as cheap as they come when it comes to a lot of things.
That'd be like me complaining about Lindsay doing her extreme couponing and saving me $150 on groceries. And going, basically, honey, if you keep this up, the store going to have to pay us to walk out with a shopping cart full of groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shielding with wire is kind of a misnomer. Shielding only goes so far.
Yeah.
If you got that much power going through, any type of cable or wire, it is, just gonna radiate definitely, through that. I mean, if there's enough of a signal coming through it, it doesn't even have to be clipped to the mark arm. It can be just within a few feet if it's a powerful enough signal.
Inside the magnetic field of those wires.
Yeah.
Well, Carl, you don't have to have it unclipped now, just on Friday nights. Yeah, we are only 5 blocks from the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a little bit of power coming through.
Yeah.
I'm about 5, maybe 7 miles away from an AM country music radio tower. And that station can come in through somebody's dentures.
2.5 to 3 from our local country station.
Fortunately, this isn't a country station.
Well, this one's trying to compete with the old X from Mexico with Wolfman Jack, where they're actually broadcasting to the outer solar system. They just didn't tell anybody. I wonder if that station still exists.
If Sarah watches this in the rerun, or if she happens to be here and has just been quiet in the chat.
Sarah quiet?
Yeah, well.
Miracles happen.
I tend to listen to our local country radio station most often because they're the ones that have the local traffic reports.
Mm.
If I listen to any of the stations out of Chicago,
they're talking about over there.
Yeah, I'll get all the traffic reports for their expressways, and maybe a mention, once every 10 traffic reports of what Indiana looks like, but it's like I don't give a shit what the roads look like in
country
Chicago.
Stations because I like country.
Hey,
and I do like country also. I prefer rock, but which I could listen to X Rock, I guess, because it's actually owned by the same company. I just was used to growing up listening to Indiana 105 to get the school closures and weather reports and everything else that's just kind of stuck in my brain as this is the one I need to listen to for my local news.
We listen to US 99 a lot because whenever my dad's company did their Christmas parties and stuff like that, they hired US 99 DJs to DJ the party.
Ah.
It's kind of funny because growing up, Danville had, I think, 3 radio stations. None of them were strictly country. So it would either be one of those 3 or WLS out of Chicago. It wasn't till about 30, nope, not that long ago, 20 years ago, that a radio station out of Hoopston, Illinois, which is about 30 miles north of us, had an actual country station. So I like country. John Hartford's my favorite. Roy Clark, Jimmy Dean,
Yeah.
and the Edmonds are going, the king of sausage? What's that got to do with country? Uh, my
Some of
oldest
us remember Big John. Uh,
Oh, Big John was not only a great song, the following Cajun Queen was the best. Especially that last line where Jimmy goes, don't ever underestimate the power of a woman.
that
But
is
yeah,
careless.
my oldest brother sounded and kind of looked like Jimmy Dean. I don't know where he got that Tennessee accent from, being bed born, bed, bred, born, and raised right here in Central Illinois. But he had that Tennessee accent for some reason.
You kind of develop that when you show up on the Grand Ole Opry every once in a while.
No,
You
no,
don't
no,
want to
no,
stand out.
no, no. My brother had
Oh,
that.
your brother had that. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah. He sounded just like Jimmy Dean. Do not know why. Well, Carl, I'm sorry. Oakwood doesn't count. And Richie, you're somebody special to us.
Uh, well, I'm going to go down the hall. I will be right back. Um,
That's not exactly why I put the nobody special down there. I watch too many videos where there's Karens galore and entitled fucks, and it's just like, I'm just an average get okay, slightly above average guy. Um, you know, and
Mm.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But it's I'm tired of these. Do you know who I work for?
Yeah.
Bet you my bosses make more money, but go ahead, tell me who you work for.
Oh, come on, Dan. Leave the headphones on.
Coward. Ever since that night, Don and I made him laugh hard. No, WIAI near Oakwood. Oakwood is not quite 10 miles from Danville.
Mm.
But I grew up at Bismarck, Illinois, which adds another 10 miles. So we never got WIAI. And we only got the two that were closer in Danville. And then, of course, WLS, but then WLS had power. But that,
Then Indiana 105 claims to be Chicago to South Bend. I call BS on that.
well, that's like at Bismarck, we could only get three channels: CBS, ABC, and of course PBS. The ironic thing about that was, at that time, ABC came out of Terre Haute, Indiana, which is an hour away from us, while NBC, which we could not get, was only a block away from CBS in Champaign-Urbana. And yet we couldn't get it. Which is,
I can see Indiana 105 being, Chicago to South Bend if they go and listen online.
Yeah.
But when they're making that claim, there was no internet. Well, no publicly available internet. Colleges and the military still had it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, growing up in Wanata, we actually got the stations. Well, if you were on cable, you got the ABC, NBC, and CBS out of both Chicago and South Bend. if you were using antenna, you were better off trying to pick up a couple of the South Bend stations and a couple of the Chicago stations.
I
And then-
lucked out. I grew up in Crown Point. We had all the Chicago stations, and then we were able to get CBS and NBC out of South Bend. And every once in a while, for some reason, we would get a channel, ABC affiliate out of Indianapolis.
wow, the clouds had to be just right and everything lining up to catch that signal from Crown Point. Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what was funny was Bismarck was about 7 miles north of Danville. We would go to a friend's house, my folks' best friend at the time, and there'd be this show on NBC down there called Star Trek. But yeah, Danville was getting NBC, but Bismarck wasn't, as close as they were.
So my mom used to screw with my grandmother because one of the South Bend station played Wheel of Fortune a half hour earlier than the Chicago affiliate. And for about a week straight, my grandmother never realized this because she basically watched the Chicago stations. That's what she grew up with. That's what she watched. So for about a week straight, my mom would sit there, watch Wheel of Fortune before it came on Chicago on Channel 7, and we'd be sitting there at dinner, and they'd be like 3 or 4 letters into the puzzle, and Mom would look at it and go, I think it's this. My grandmother, how are you getting all these all of a sudden? I'm just sitting there giggling because I'm sitting in the living room watching them also while, Grandma was cooking dinner, because you didn't bother her in the kitchen. Not live to tell the tale at least.
Yeah.
But
how you really screw with them is you do that with Jeopardy.
Couldn't. Jeopardy came on right before right after Wheel of Fortune on the South Bend station. And Jeopardy came on at 3:30 on Channel 7. Trust me, we thought about that.
What shows can we use to break Grandma?
MacGyver. I bet he's got a paper clip and a stick of chewing gum in his pocket. He's going to build a nuclear reactor out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, that's what he does.
Cold fusion. He wanted to save the world.
Probably did. That's why they put him in Stargate.
Mm-hmm. That was one of my favorite lines. It was in the first couple of episodes, if I remember correctly.
First episode. We had a MacGyver it. And then just the look on Richard D. Manderson's face. I'm convinced that lived.
Oh, yeah. I'd bet good money it was either ad-libbed or his version of the script showed something different.
Yeah. Don S. Davies, really, really nice guy. Mm-hmm. Met him at a Gen Con. I'm sitting there at a sword booth, about ready to pick up my next $35 con special. And I just hear this drawl behind me. You going to get yourself one of them there big knives? And I'm like, yep, that's why I'm here. And I turn around and it's him. We'd actually briefly run into him the opening night of the con, as the block party was kicking off and stuff like that. He was walking through after judging some boxing thing that went on or whatever. And then sat there, chatted with him. Just one of the best celebrities I've ever met. Just really down to earth, really, really surprisingly nice guy. And then as we're sitting there talking to him at his table in the gallery, he's just like, oh yeah, and this and that, and just talking like we've been best friends for freaking ever. He's like, yeah, Dick is going to go down with his daughter to go whitewater rafting, so we're on break. And
Oh yeah.
Dick.
Able to get a carload of stuff off the Goodwill. Good show. Another truckload of trash and about a truckload of burnable trash taken care of. Let's see if Uncle Mark notices.
Yeah,
Well,
those Goodwill execs need that money.
oh
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
they do.
I'm not a Goodwill person because I know where a lot of the finances go.
Yes, but there's the other places that used to be like that were nonprofit have closed, or in this area. Hope he doesn't get mad. Really
Mm.
good progress made, and guessing that I'm going home for that.
He's in, if I remember right, Cancun for a niece's wedding.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I don't think Joe was in the green room when she was talking about that.
Yeah, if it was last night, I was probably at the poker tournament at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Already got permission for him, so we should be good.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah.
and mom actually gave me formal permission to use Dad's machine shop.
Cool.
Of course, she was fussing about have to replace the person door because it needs new frame and whatnot. And I'm going, Mom, I believe I can handle that. You don't have to
Oh,
go down there and measure it. I'll come over and measure it and go get one and put it in. Door frames are not really easy to replace, but after having replaced the one for my house because of, let's just say, disgruntled ex-girlfriends of my little brother. No, Carl, I'm not going to be fixing the door. I'm going to be replacing the door. That's much easier.
you have to remember, this is the Witzman dude. Fixing is the same as replacing.
No, I'm going to take the wooden door and its frame out and replace it with a steel door because there's expensive equipment in there.
But you have to understand the Witzman dude. That's still fixing it in his vernacular. But going back to Michaela's, I can understand that. I recently cleared out some stuff from my office closet, and I'm like, I don't want this stuff. I don't use this stuff. I don't need this stuff. I can't get rid of it. So I took the tote into Carl, said, use what you can, throw away what you want, or give away what you want. Just do something with it. Sometimes you need somebody else to do that for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I've got an entire closet full of clothes that since I graduated high school I can no longer fit in. and that has got to go to somebody that can make use of it because there's nobody in my family anywhere close to my size, not even any of my
Uh,
grandsons.
do you have now around here instead of Goodwill, we usually go the Humane Society has a resale shop that you can bring stuff in, and all the proceeds go for the animals. And another place called Cara, which is a no-kill animal shelter, and they've got a shop where you can take stuff.
Hmm Around here, I'm restricted to Salvation Army, whose policies I do not agree with,
Mm-mm.
Goodwill, whose executives I do not agree with, and there's a third one I cannot remember their name at this moment in time. Then they are an actual charity.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you take them something, they don't get a cut. They just pass it on to somebody that needs it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Um,
I love how YouTube has decided to start eating the comments of even the moderators of channels. Because I have a wrench just like Donna does. And
Mm-hmm.
I had commented, with on the subject of taking stuff to Goodwill and all that. I put on there sometimes dealing with an evil entity is necessary.
and it never showed up.
Yeah, it's
No,
not
it's not
there.
your. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not in StreamYard, so I know it didn't. I know YouTube's not displaying it for anybody else. And I
Yeah.
You're
guarantee if I refresh that screen, it's not going to show up on my list anymore either.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
YouTube has been doing that more and more lately, even on the mods.
I don't know. It might be StreamYard rather than YouTube in this instance. Yeah, it's not
No,
showing.
it would, because it would have to be YouTube that's blocking it instead of StreamYard. StreamYard wouldn't just be able to cut it off YouTube.
Oh yeah, you're right. And I'm not watching comments in
Yeah.
StreamYard. I'm watching comments on YouTube. You're exactly right. Um,
The fire hazard of wiring under his desk was stunning. Oh, Michaela, please never come to my house and look at how I have all this wired up here.
oh
Mm.
God. If you think that's a fire hazard, you would run screaming to the driveway to get out of my house once you saw how the
Yeah.
office is set up.
Although it's not nearly as bad as a business that was wanting to open up in New Chicago. Somebody had bought the old American Auto Parts store here that has it. It was a store in the front, and it actually had a couple of bays for being able to work on vehicles. And the guy who bought it is fixing up vehicles and reselling them, and he had started doing that there. And the guy he had working on stuff there, I'll be the first to admit I am not a fire inspector. I am not a building inspector. I'm not even a code enforcement person. I know that the way he had this wired up was just a hazard waiting to happen.
Mm.
As in, you know, basically taking bare wires and wrapping them around the uh, male end of a extension cord,
Ooh.
and then that extension cord running over to the actual outlet with two more pieces of copper wire shoved into the female end and then hooked and somehow hooked into the actual wall outlet.
That
And I think I
does.
just gave Richie an aneurysm.
Yeah.
That violates so many OSHA instructions that I have received over my life. That reminds me of the time they showed us a breaker box and the solid breakers inside had been replaced with rifle cartridges.
Well, I'll give him this on the one end because this was for a big air compressor. Um, the wires that were hooked onto the male end of the uh, extension cord, they at least have tape around them.
Duct tape.
I'm not entirely sure. I briefly looked at the setup and went, "Yeah, I'm walking away from this." I got called down just because I'm on the planning commission.
I do believe that by the time I get finished with the barbecue pergola, I'm going to hire an electrician to come out and install another uh, at least a 15 amp breaker and run the wires from the breaker box through the wall of the house and over to the barbecue grill and wire in at least 4 outlets from which I will be running lights and quite possibly a little boom box of some sort. I believe I brought one home. I don't think I left it at work when I retired, but don't ask me what box I put it in because I can't find it. I've been using a solar powered AM FM weather radio out there when I'm working on something. It's so hard to find a station that is not abusive to the political party that I subscribe to. I do believe that's the right word. I could be wrong. I might need an editor. But there was one that
We know
played
some of
really,
those.
really good music, but they were quite hateful towards what they saw as the opposition party, which just so happens to be the one that I support. Um, and then another one, it's like, oh, we'll play one song every 30 minutes, but we don't say anything about politics. We just run endless commercials.
hmm
And it's like watching a shopping network on the TV set. And basically, I've heard every song in their repertoire innumerable times in the 70s and 80s. They have yet to discover that the 90s existed, much less the 2000s, the 2010s, or now.
hmm
The one station I'd love to listen to has no commercials whatsoever, but it's so low power that I could only listen to it in a vehicle in that county. By the time I got within 5 miles of my house, that signal faded out in the car, and I can't get it on any radio or stereo that I own out here. It's just too low power. But their format was we don't care if it's country, we don't care if it's rock, we don't care if it's rap, we don't care what it is. We're going to play one of everything we can every 30 minutes. So you might hear Hank Williams Jr., followed by the Beastie Boys, followed by Jimi Hendrix, fo-
Hey,
followed
it's
by
a good mix.
Yes. It's a great mix. And no commercials whatsoever. They run like half an hour of news around noon, rest of the time, well, I do believe sometimes they will play a basketball game, and because that's not one of the sports I give any care to whatsoever. I never figured out whether it was college or high school or whatever. Um, but it's too faint for me to pick up out here. Yes, Carl, that's exactly right. Low power and no ads. Low power FM community radio stations. Indeed. Um, somebody
I
set that up as a hobby and financed the entire thing where they didn't need ad revenue.
I only real time watch rerun what I call rerun channels.
Mm-mm.
Mostly because I've got the TV on because of my tinnitus. People go, well, why don't you listen to music? Well, because I'll stop what I'm doing and sing along or dance or do something. If it's a rerun show, I don't pay attention to it. But my tinnitus kind of goes out a little bit. The only thing wrong with these is their commercials are long. And I have to admit that every time this one commercial comes on, I find myself mimicking the sports spokeswoman in the first few minutes because she goes, takes care of bags under your eyes. Okay, why did we have to go bags? And every time that comes on, I'm doing it right along with her.
Mm. Oh, Lindsay is getting disgusted with the new script writers on one of her British soap operas. It's been
Mm.
running for ages and ages and ages. Her previous complaint was that they got too predictable. She could watch just the teaser, and know exactly what was going to happen to every character in the show that episode. And now
She
the
has no
scripts are
idea.
less the scripts are less predictable, which she likes, but they're full of characters who are either bent cops or rapists. And that's two things that really set her off. I mean, she cusses worse than watching her Portsmouth Football Club lose a game to someone Portsmouth Football Club fans absolutely loathe with a white hot passion hotter than the center of the sun.
That's one thing. I'll start, watching the show, and they will either fixate on one villain and bring him back time after time after time, or there's not a single main character in that show that is not broken in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is not what I don't want realism when I watch a show. I want to be entertained. Have my hero be a 24/7 Boy Scout. You know, strict morals, nothing wrong with him, gets along with his mama, goes after the bad guy, and doesn't have a bit of problems with his life. Okay, throw him something curveball once in a while, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, entertain me. Don't try to get me involved in his personal angst. Like, no, don't like that.
Oh,
Another reason to watch rerun shows.
there's also one American soap opera that she likes, and I'll walk through the into the kitchen and look at what's on the TV, and I go, "Damn, is he still alive?" My grandmother used to watch him in the '60s, and I swear he's been killed off and resurrected more times than Doctor Who. Um,
Dot C. Would that be The Young and the Restless?
probably Days.
Oh, I never watched that one. That was an NBC thing. We didn't get that.
Um, and now I've got Days of Our Lives opening monologue playing through my head because it's just been that's been in front of me for generations.
Never
Uh,
watched the show, and I know that one.
mm,
It was everywhere.
I know that. Let's see, um, Days, General Hospital, um, Young and the Restless. I missed one called Santa Barbara, but that was kind of
That was a nighttime one, wasn't it?
no, not
Oh,
really, but it could have been. I mean, had excellent production values, had wonderful actors, had some amazing scripts, some of whom could have been writing for science fiction shows, but no, they chose to make a living instead. Um, but I
night,
don't I
Michaela.
I don't think
Good night,
it's
Michaela.
still in production. Good night, Michaela. Uh,
Yeah,
it was kind of one of those flash in the pan '90s things. I actually think it was too good for daytime television.
Probably.
Well, Carl, I'm shocked that you're still awake too.
Me too.
Hmm.
Maybe next time buy 2 bottles of gin. One for Saturday night. Oh, thank you for showing up.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, you- oh,
Long
if
time.
you don't watch Rob's weekly show on YouTube, you are missing out. He is one of the most entertaining hosts and most knowledgeable about his field. I mean, seriously, it's fun. It's fun every time. Uh, can't prove anything? Yeah, but I can direct people to your channel and let the evidence speak for itself. Okay, now this show can get started. Yeah. Oh.
Oh, what's my dude?
Oh, and if you don't know, buy Rob's book. It's good.
We've
Uh,
got it.
I'm about halfway through with it because I don't get to read paper very often. Um, life intervenes. Uh, really needed to get the just came into fanboy over Carl for a moment. Hey, Carl is someone we all aspire to be if we grow up.
I want to be Aunt Donna when I grow up.
Oh,
Hmm.
Padawan, I can teach you so many things.
I'm
The
even
sure.
though
snark
not many of them
the
exist
snark
anymore, I
is
just want to be a
strong with this one.
Toys R Us kid.
Oh,
Hey,
oh,
Chris.
please.
Hey, Chris.
I was a true barfly. No, you weren't. Hello, Chris. I think Jim. Though seeing Rich's mustache, I feel my allegiance shifting a tad. Well, Richie is kind of monumental. Um,
I keep telling Carl he needs to get with Richie and learn how to fix his mustache.
Oh, the handlebar. Yeah. Well, that takes a little bit of
Dan, are
waxing,
you
but
telling me I need to lose weight?
no, I'm saying you
Calling me a
are.
monument?
Hey,
So Nick and I had a discussion about me doing a handlebar mustache, and I told him that if you ever see me show up on a stream with a handlebar mustache, just know that my villain arc has finally started.
yes,
And that's
but
when you would have passed the test, Padawan.
Well,
Richie
you know,
hasn't finished
mine is an
writing his
homage
villain
to a
arc yet.
musketeer.
Yes, and you do it so well.
Yes, I am Porcos. Not Porthos, Porcos. I'll decimate any dish you put in front of me.
And Ruth is saying, challenge accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, how did the party go? I'm sure you're still there cleaning up after it.
Is there a GoFundMe for Joe Doug's bail?
So who's Joe tying to the train tracks?
Remains to be seen. Might take several baggies.
There was a screenshot for you, Witzman, dude.
That's the look that normally gets Nick to jump. Because all he sees is that in the little bitty box down there in StreamYard.
Oh,
Now, here's the
this one I
thing.
got to put on. This one I got to put on screen. Love the Gearhart story. All right, more fans, more fans. We need Rob to have more fans.
Oh,
If
you think
Joe really wanted somebody to disappear, he's got access to cement and bridge decks.
The body leaves a void after a while. I mean,
you see, man, it eats that?
That's
Yeah.
the only way we're ever going to find Jimmy Hoffa.
and besides that, you have to find a bridge that's actually being built again from the ground up with enough pilings that you can, separate things out.
You know enough people that this can be arranged. And here's the thing. If you fill the body with cement, there's not that much of a void that gets left after.
That's true. And for,
And for any of the three-letter agencies that are listening, I have not yet done this.
Not yet.
Now, if
it is
if
possible
Richie,
sometime in the future. But yeah, no one's trying to hurt my wife and kids yet, so we don't have to worry about it. There's very few people I'll go to jail for, and the list starts with my wife, kids, and grandkids.
now if Richie ever opens up a taxidermy shop, we know he's doing research.
Mm-hmm. They're talking about Joe's look. The Viv look
a flashback to Motel Hell.
The Viv look is very frightening, as we all know, when Dawn gives it. I just saw this morning the Viv look given by a cat. Calvin had run into the office, jumped in my arms. Like, okay. And then I looked to see who's followed him, and it's Charcoal. And she is giving him a wide-eyed Viv look. Like, you son of a mother. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm glad that's towards Calvin and not me. And she looks at me like,
You're
Mom,
next, sweetheart.
No. Mom, you're innocent. I know it's him.
Is it time for Iggy's?
Did you see the post my wife made of Hobo the other day? And the look Hobo was giving?
I don't think I did.
me see if I can find it again real quick.
Oh, Carl, you're right. You're right. For those who are not familiar with the Viv look, it's the glare that Dawn's mom gives her.
And her dad.
Well,
Especially her dad.
I think he's got that. Uh, you pulled that frozen fish out of the damn freezer again, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did see that. That's adorable.
That's more of a paint me like your French girls pose.
That's like, how dare you, document my crimes. At least that's the look Barry gives me when I pull out a camera.
Yeah.
I get the she's at it again look when I pull out the camera.
Carl shouldn't do that. Oh,
Now
yes,
those
I'm
are
being a
pictures you're never
smartass.
going to see on Facebook.
I certainly hope not. I have children.
Yeah, the majority of those posts that I put in the secret humor group,
Mm-hmm.
I don't go looking for those. My bestie sends them to me in Messenger because she has a lot of children on her Facebook page. She doesn't dare share them there. So she sends them to me in Messenger knowing that I will watch them and then go, oh yeah, that's going in the secret humor group.
Mm. Oh, let's see. Now, what do I have to do tomorrow? Oh, yeah, that's right. Excavate a path to my air conditioner and seal that up so that the wind doesn't blow through. I got 2 out of 3 of the air conditioners yesterday and today. Oh, and Lindsay wants to put the portable unit in the storage room, the spare bedroom, basically. And I'm going, do you know how long it would take me to get a clear path to that wall? She calls it a lumber room with good reason. Oh, okay.
Hey, Carrie.
Carl says, oh, what happened? There we go. She posted them herself in the humor group. It would not be on her feed. And hello, Kiri. She
And
doesn't want anybody to know that she's looking at
look
that
at that kind of
stuff.
stuff. And there's been some things that I've tried to post, and it will only go to my vanilla page. And I'm like, I really don't want everybody to know about that one. But I have found out that if you check the little hamburger thing and go down, that you could post it just so you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I've done that, I
Right,
can
you
share
can
it in a
change your,
humor group.
Mm-hmm. April is a chicken, that is. Okay.
No. April likes to be mysterious. What can I say? That's why you have an evil twin, though, to do the stuff that you don't want people to know you do if you wanted to.
Oh, there was one time my first wife was out at a movie theater and I was not there. And she ran into basically a doppelganger of me.
Mm.
And she was about to start a fight with him because that's what she did. And then realized it was not me, and she would get arrested for starting a fight with some random dude walking out of a movie theater. I go, let that be a lesson to you. Well, nothing ever was, but, you know. Hope the urn is comfortable, dear. Uh, oh, not easy being the evil twin, but somebody's got to do it. Yes.
Oh, I don't know. It's pretty easy for
I
me,
am
Rob.
not evil. I am the hero of my own story. And thankfully, I'm the one that gets to write that story.
There you go.
There. Yep. That's a writer's prompt. Now you've got an odd number of cards.
No, he's got to finish his book first. It's
Yeah.
almost finished. It's almost ready to be published. And he's ignoring me. Look at that grin.
Is that whistling past
I know
the
nothing.
graveyard? Is that whistling past the graveyard, Richie?
I drink the fifth. Plead the no, that was right the first time. Drink the fifth.
Oh, Carl.
I'm just going to sit here quietly
Who
and
am
not
I
draw
kidding?
attention to myself.
Last night I had to drink all the gin so it would not affect Donna. I call that a hero in my book, Carl.
Yeah, it's okay. Aunt Donna does not like gin. He can have it all.
Well, at least it wasn't that aviation stuff. From all
That-
reports I've heard, that's
Expensive and stinky.
yeah, it's not the best gin out there. And as much as I admire that particular Ryan for his free thinking, um, I think I'd rather have Bombay Sapphire myself.
Cheaper and better.
I don't
Which
know.
goes to show.
That's one of the more expensive ones, but it's a high quality.
Yeah, but not as expensive as aviation. I'm just
No.
saying you don't have to spend a huge amount of money to get something that's good.
Oh no, Carl! Don't take hints from me. That path leads to self-destruction.
And where do we keep the gin, children?
In Carl's office.
In the freezer.
Ooh. Right next to the Irish Mist. See how much pushing that took?
I think you're pushing yourself, sweetie.
Oh.
As long as it comes out of your budget, not mine.
What would Dan do? And then I do that twice. You don't want 6 wives. You're not Henry VIII.
Are you sure?
Hey.
Next door.
I draw the limit. I draw the limit at the third one. I've got a winner here. I keep her for as a reward for all the mistakes I made before.
Now I was talking about Rob being the Henry VIII.
Well, yeah, that's why I said he didn't need 6 wives.
Maybe he does.
Serially,
Now Chris just
He does
gave
have
the
the facial hair for Herman and the Hermits, though.
oh yeah, yeah, I remember that one quite well. Yeah, Bombay Sapphire for mixing, New Amsterdam for straight drinking. Haven't tried that one. Maybe I'll give that a shot. Carl, unless they sell it in shot glasses, you're going to have to give it a whole bottle.
Oh well. Actually, if we go over to Benny's, maybe you'll find one in one of those little bottles. That's pretty much a shot.
Oh, okay. Have seen Peter Noon in concert multiple times.
That explains some things.
Hey. Oh, that reminds me.
Uh-oh.
Well, no, not tonight. Not tonight. I've already had the last of the um, Tullamore Dew earlier today after I got back as a reward for being such a productive person earlier in the day. But um, this particular brand of bourbon, I'm sorry, there's not anything in this bottle. I just like the shape of the bottle.
Hmm.
Um, I bought a fifth of it, and it's sitting in the kitchen untapped as of yet. I'm going, that's such a pretty bottle. I don't even want to break the seal because it'll be gone. Um, but it is actually smooth enough as a bourbon to drink without a mixer, um, at least in very small doses. Uh, New Amsterdam gin is perfect for sipping, especially chilled or on the rocks.
That's why you keep the gin in the freezer.
Yeah, I may have to buy an ice maker. Uh, they make them externally. We can put purified water in it instead of what comes out of my tap and has to be run through the what are those water filter things? Brita pitcher. Oh Lord, talk too fast. Brain goes faster than my mouth. As odd as that sounds.
Not saying a word.
Oh.
Oh, this is gonna be fun to
Well,
rip
I
apart.
can't be drunk. I've only had one shot of liquor and 3 beers in the last 24 hours. So it's got to be the wiring. Oh.
Sounds like we're winding down.
We are, and there's a reason for that. Um, uh, and then suddenly Dawn is reaching for her sock, even though she doesn't know why. Uh,
Tell them they can wait 10 minutes, Witzman.
yeah, really. Sock girl had the night off. Hey, everybody needs a night off.
Mm-hmm.
I've had almost a year of consecutive nights off, and I'm doing fine. I like it. Um, Actually, I can't wait for New Year's Day when I replace the last calendar I will ever have to hang on my wall that came from the factory. And I can actually get a calendar that has pictures worth looking at on it.
They still make Betty Page calendars?
No,
Yeah, actually.
I've got a better selection of Betty Page photographs than
They won't
almost
be
anyone
available.
I know. Um, well, almost everyone that's ever been available since the 80s online, or whenever it was I started downloading photographs.
You okay, Joe?
Yep, I'm good. I just tried to send this 3D print across the room. That's all.
Don't do that. You'll never be able to get the supports out that way.
What are you
Nope.
making? Or what did you
So
make?
my wife wanted one of those hands where the middle finger sticks up,
Mm,
but it's the extendable one. So it starts off like this,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're supposed to be able to get the middle finger to come out, which I need to work on here. I think it added supports into there, which if it did, then that means this isn't going to work because I'm never going to be able to get down in there to get those supports out.
Yep.
But right now I'm trying to get the supports out from around the fingers, preferably without stabbing myself.
Good luck.
That would be preferable.
Have a Betty Page air freshener in my car as we type. It's 20 years old, doesn't have a scent anymore, but it looks too nice to remove. A man of distinction. And Betty looks too good to remove. I will agree with you there 100%. I am one of the luckiest guys in my acquaintance. My wife actually bought me a bunch of Betty Page stuff, including a 4 by 3 foot reproduction of an Olivia painting of Betty Page in a nurse's uniform, which is in one. It's the centerpiece of one of the bookshelves in the house. I made sure I built it with a space big enough for that. Um, I love Lindsay. She knows my weaknesses and my strengths, and she plays to them equally. Oh,
Oh, my first load of laundry is finally done.
ah, and yes, your print did get through by the end of the show. You just forgot to tell it to leave out the supports and the extendable part.
Well, it automatically adds the supports in where it needs to, and apparently my printer or this software thought it needed supports in there. I'm assuming. I don't see any in there though, so I'm not sure why it's not wanting to pop out. I may have to try and read and see if there's just something that has to be done to get it to pop out, but I can see why it needed the supports around the fingers because it, actually has the fingers curled, but they're kind of like this. They got a little bit of a gap in them.
Mm,
So I can see why it has that in there. It's just a royal pain to get at and chip away at little by little.
yeah. And after all that printing, you really don't want to break it.
Hmm.
If I break it, I break it.
Oh, I don't remember I told anybody that
At least you'd be able to get the autopsy.
that imitation Grammy that Joe Dog presented me with at Hallowcon,
Hmm.
Lindsay put it back together.
Hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I was afraid that I had forgotten it. It's now she's afraid to move it from the shelf she put it on because she doesn't trust her own work. And I'm going, yeah, but you wanted the nativity up there, and that's in the way. But
So you
and
have the
that'll
baby juices listening to something on the little Grammy phone.
Mhm.
his master's voice. uh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't remember what all is in this one, but it's hand carved and it's very nice. It already looks like an antique. I think it was manufactured to look like an antique. It's probably a resin casting of some kind, but I know better than to pick it up and examine it closely because I don't want to have to super glue that back together. Uh, I actually took a corner off of the water reservoir from the Keurig about 2 days ago because I was trying to load it on the coffee maker and dropped it and caught it against the countertop at the sink, and I busted a corner off of it. Thankfully, not where it would leak water. And she's going, no, I can fix that. I can fix. She super glued that back together.
Oh, you puss bucket.
Well, that's the way I felt too. It's a fair assessment.
Oh, what's
Carl.
moving?
I got the finger.
Oh, okay. Jesus Christ, super glue. Now a new musical. Oh God. You sure you haven't finished off that gin yet?
We finished that last night.
Yeah, I know. Apparently there was a dribble left. Oh.
No, it'd have been much worse if he'd have been on the gin.
Yeah, well, you would be the expert. Defer to your judgment.
38.9, folks. 38.9.
That's a long work day. Oh.
I got it.
Yay! The Flying Fickle Finger of Fate Award. For those
It's got a
of
nice
you
little
of a
loop
certain
for
age.
adding it to a keychain.
Yeah. I suppose there's no way you'll add Velcro to that so it can go in the dashboard of the car.
Oh, I could.
No, then that would need to be spring or lever actuated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you velcroed it to the dash. You couldn't shake it and make the finger come up.
That's true.
Lord.
Oh no, you hit some of these potholes in Indiana and it'll pop up.
That's what she said.
And she likes it.
It wouldn't be horrifically hard to have it wired up so you hit a button on the dash and all of a sudden a little hand extends out from the back of your car, or a little metal arm, and then pops up, there's a little hand, and all of a sudden the finger flies.
It wouldn't be horrifically hard, but I don't think it would survive if it was 3D printed. You might have to use actual metal for parts of that.
Depends on what you print it with and how it's printed and how thick it is and everything.
I am so not.
Although truth be
touching
told,
that
it would probably be better to be injection molded. Truth be told,
line.
I know how to do that too.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, you used to work at an injection molding facility.
Yep.
Too bad you couldn't bring one of the machines home, have it set up in your basement, if you had a basement.
Yeah.
We got about a minute and a quarter left, folks. If anybody's wondering, all of us can be found on ndcd.org.
That's my site.
And actually, all of us can be found on Aphelion Webzine.
This is true too.
True.
That's Dan's side.
And if you're
Yeah.
overseas, go to aphelion.ndcd.org to be able to access the
And you get
website.
both.
Everything except the archives and the forums.
Yep.
Which would be an incredible amount of work that I am not willing to undertake to rewrite every single link for the last 27 years to make that work. Plus the forums is kind of hard to make website independent. Somebody posts something on one, it would not show up on the other. And I really am not We've been trying to find a substitute for that software for ages, and it's just difficult to do. And it's still very, very prone to bot attacks.
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Mostly spam bots or foreign bots, which I hate also. But yes, it is time for us to say adieu. So go good, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. That's all
Good
I
night,
know.
folks.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Asta.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.